3 scriptures. And the first scripture that's mentioned is a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pitchers of silver. That's Proverbs 25:11. And the next scripture was, be not deceived. Evil communications corrupt good manners. That's 1 Corinthians 15:33. And also, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that may minister grace unto the hearers. That's Ephesians 4:29. So when Darrin and I read this chapter and we thought about those scriptures, we thought about how, life and death is in the power of the tongue. And that goes for any and all situations, especially your marriage. And so you have to make sure that you do speak those words that are edifying for your spouse. So what we're going to start with is the 5 love languages. Does everybody on here, do you all know your spouse's love language? Just raise your hand virtually or in the, okay. All right, I didn't see some hands go. Okay, I see you. Okay, all right, I see those hands. Okay.
So do we know it, but do we all speak it to one another? Because I don't all the time.
No, he does
I'll be
not.
the first to admit it.
He does
We
not.
try to.
We try. I think everybody here tries, right?
Yeah. So those love languages are a crucial piece of communication. Knowing how your partner likes to hear from you and how you like to hear from him or her, that is definitely a good thing to strengthen the marriage. So just in case those of you who have not had a chance to read the 5 love languages, it's created by Dr. Gary Chapman. I'm sorry. And so if you have not read the book or you have not experienced the assessment to learn your love language and your partner's love language, the 5 love languages are quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation, acts of service, and and touch. Oh, I said physical touch, didn't I? Did I get them all? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so for Darrin and I, my love language is acts of service. So we were having a discussion last night. He was saying if he did something that he wanted to apologize to me for, he would go out and buy something. I'm like, why? That's not my love language. That would do nothing for me. Mm-hmm. Now, if he said he would go take my car and get it washed and put some gas in there, then I'm like, yes. We still working on the communication part. I'm like, how could you say you would go buy me some? I mean, I would take it, but that wouldn't make me feel better.
So she knows my love language is quality time and touch. But like I said, we
working on it.
We both battle on those. But she's not a touchy-feely person. So, and then I'm stubborn. So
very.
So that's what we clash at on doing each other's love languages. But we still, if anything, we still communicate. And we don't have a problem with expressing our feelings, or if neither one of our love languages are getting met, we can sit down and have those conversations with each other without stabbing one another. And that's some message we're going to learn in this passage. Speaking to one another without on your terms or somebody else getting the upper hand and things like that in your dispute. So we're going to touch on a couple of those things in this text here.
So one of the things that I underlined was on page 40, where it says the most important marriage skill is listening to your partner and in a way that leaves them no doubt that you love them. Crucial. How many of you have had your spouse communicate something to you and you were like, for lack of a better term, half listening? And so that half listening would cause you to get in trouble because your spouse is thinking that you're listening to them and you're giving them your full attention, but in actuality you're not. And so then when they come to you and they say, well, you remember I said this, thus and so, and you like, can you like remind me, because I don't really remember. And so that would let because I do that to Darrin, and he'd be like, I'm like, see, you want to listen, you don't listen to me, you don't listen. And so see, yeah, that's an issue that we have.
We got one extra one, and that's for Golden, because the red thing. And I fell into that situation.
iPhone 773.
Friday, Maria said, I need this program.
Okay, all right, there we go.
Yeah.
And so listening is key. Listening is key. Darrin, do I listen to you?
No, we don't listen to each other.
I don't want to talk.
So in this class, the part of listening, you want to ask your partner, and this is a great tool because we use it at work as well.
See everybody.
When your partner is speaking, you want to ask them 3 times, so what I'm understanding you're saying is, and then you repeat it back to them. And then you want to ask 3 times, because when you're asking 3 times, your partner, what are they saying to you? What are they trying to convey? You're also peeling back layers, because sometimes people just, we like to just throw a blanket answer out there. Like some of us, we've been married 10, 15 years. So one of the common phrases is, you should know me by now. But no, we're forever knowing and growing each other in a marriage, and sometimes, like I said in the passage, you expect that person just to know what you're thinking, know what you're feeling, and we don't. So that's why you should ask your partner at least 3 times, convey back what they're saying to you, so you can understand what they're saying, repeat it back so they know that you're listening. And then when you ask them that 3 times, you're peeling back layers to get to a deeper core of what might be going on, because what they might be fussing at you about might not really be the main issue.
Mm-hmm. For the record, I do know him. I know the things that he will do before he does it. Every once in a while, he throw that monkey wrench in there. I'm like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. But for the most part, I know him. I do. Mm-hmm. So, excuse me. So are you ready to rumble? This is what Darrin was mentioning when he talked about those discussions that you may have. Are you ready? Are you ready to have that discussion and be fair with your partner as he or she is expressing their feelings or saying, giving their part? Are you ready to rumble? How many of you feel that when those tough times come up, that you're actually ready to discuss it with your whole heart and with both ears open?
I see a few hands.
See a few hands. How many of you feel that during whatever it is, whatever the disagreement is, you need your space to get your thoughts together before you just start, okay. And so when you do that, Sean, you thinking about what?
The way I approach it, the tone,
I think it's froze.
Oh, I think she froze.
Without. Did I freeze?
Yeah.
You did.
Okay. Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Basically, just to kind of have a mindset of not to aggravate the situation, I guess. So choose my words wisely and the delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Easily said, but not easily done.
That is so true. And I'm looking in the chat and I see Mrs. Davis said how to tell them off. I heard that.
Easily said. She put it in a good way for you all, but it's not done that way.
Yeah, it's hard. because I know for me, if it's something that I'm trying to express to him, and I just start going in like a chihuahua, I know he like, I hear no evil. And I'll be like, okay. And so that makes me even angrier, right? Because I'm just like, I'm expressing myself. I don't care how it comes out. You're supposed to hear me. Because, you know, for all he know, I could have, you know, like he said, it may not have necessarily something to do with him and how it comes out. It might be something that happened at work. But at the same time, I'm like, man, whether I'm a chihuahua right about now, you should be listening to me. But no, he told me out. He'd be like, all right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in this chapter, it says that we must learn how to share our feelings with our partner in an effective way to get them to respond back in an effective way. So if your partner, like I said, she's been a chihuahua, 10 times out of 10, I haven't heard a word she said because I immediately block out. And my body language shows that I block out because I want to know I ain't listening. You know, so we have to learn how to, you know, if we're going to express our feelings with our partner, we have to learn how to express them effectively so we can get the response back that we want from one another. So if you know your spouse doesn't respond to the chihuahua, then you don't bring out the chihuahua. You know, you have to be calm, patient, or whatever. You know, if they don't like to have this conversation during game time, leave them alone during game time.
Hey, I'm like this. I'm the one that comes right in the middle of the important part. We need to talk.
Yep. So go ahead. Yeah.
He shoots me down every time, and I stand in front of the TV too.
Yeah.
So Ephesians 4:29 reminds us, and this is what they say in the book, let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. So I remember once I'm trying to think, I think it was a sermon. I heard somebody say, or maybe it was in the class, and they're talking about how to edify. And so when you're trying to come across with your form of communication, you have to remember that it should be edifying to your spouse, because then it goes back to how we approach, how we bring out our concern to the spouse. It should be edifying to them, because if it's not, it's gonna fall on deaf ears. It's gonna fall on deaf ears.
And so another thing that this book taught us is this is another important skill that we must practice as well. And it is we must practice empathy. So empathy basically means to walk in perspective. We don't have to agree with one another, but we need to understand where he or she is coming from. And that basically touches on the base of we're both individual people. You know, again, we constantly, if you remember, each text that we're constantly going through, it's a reminder that we both have come from different walks of life, different upbringings, and have been through different types of trials and tribulations in our life before, you know, you all came together in a union. So we have to understand that about one another and be sympathetic to that when we're talking and listening to them, because, you know, something, you know, to her, you know, it might be real trivial or petty, but that might be huge to her. So I can't downplay that and just say, oh, you know, you fussing or what you talking about it is nothing. It might be huge to her. And then vice versa. Something might be real big to me, but in her eyes it's small. But that is just a small fabric of how we were brought up, well, what's important to us, how we view things, and how we see things. So we always want to, you know, when we're communicating, practice empathy. Never downplay or push aside your partner's feelings and what's important to them, you know, what's bothering them or whatever it may be. Never push those to the side.
So how many of you do you find it difficult to empathize with your partner? And give us an example of when it was difficult for you. Did anybody find it difficult to communicate with your partner and have that empathy? Hey, Lisa, Rick.
Hey, Erica, this is Brenda. You know, I don't find it difficult to have empathy for Dre, and I can't speak from where he comes from. But something that from earlier in what you were speaking just kind of came to my mind. Dre and I actually went through the 5 love languages when we were dating, just so that we could get a better handle on where we were. And then what I've noticed over the past years of dating and years of being married is that the love languages keep changing, or the priority of them keeps changing.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't kind of go back and have a conversation to kind of reassess that, then something has happened. Like, I'll give you an example. Acts of service used to be really important to me when I was getting up every day and going to work and things were going wrong and I needed somebody to help me out. Since I'm retired, acts of service is not as important to me anymore. Because it was more time element that I needed acts of service, and I have more time now. But if we don't go back and kind of tweak the whole process and come to a clearer understanding, I think that first of all, that begins to break down having empathy. How are you going to be empathetic with somebody when you don't even understand how best to communicate to them or how best to relate to them? So I just wanted to say that to encourage anybody who has done the 5 love languages. If you haven't reassessed where you are recently, you might want to take some time to do that, to make sure that what was important 5 or 10 years ago was still important. And I think it's a worthwhile exercise. Anybody who has not read the book, I really suggest it. It gives you a lot of insight on how to communicate with someone other than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like I said, your love language can change 2, 3, 5 years from when you all first started dating. Yeah, so that's a good point.
Right. Rick.
Go ahead, Rick and Lisa.
Go ahead, Lisa.
I was just gonna say that well, my love language flip-flops between quality time and acts of service, but in terms of empathy, it's only difficult for me when I just want to do what I want to do. And so then I find myself saying, if he doesn't understand, I don't know how else to say it. I said it the best I could say it. I don't know what to tell you. So I feel like I can decide to be empathetic when I want to. and it's a choice.
Absolutely, it's definitely a choice, and I'm with you on that, Lisa. When I want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in the book too, it brings it up. It says it like 2 or 3 times. Choose. When you choose, and we're going to touch on that in a few minutes here. But yeah, it says that in the book a couple times. You choose to be empathetic. You choose to forgive. So yeah.
Go ahead, Alice.
Okay, so I have a question. I personally don't think that I have a lack of empathy when it comes to responding to my husband or hearing him out and listening. However, in having conversations with him, he's often said that he doesn't feel understood. And for me, I feel like he wants agreement in order to feel understood. And I don't necessarily always agree with him. So I ask more questions for further details and for a better understanding. But in his eyes, that returns to him that, well, you don't understand, or you always trying to be right or get your point across. And to me, that's not the case. I'm trying to better understand where he's coming from. But even with me understanding, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to agree. So I'm asking for, like, how do you better show empathy and let them know that you do hear them and you are listening, but you necessarily aren't going to end up on the same page just because you understand where they're coming from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense, because you can have a discussion and, you all know the saying, we just gonna agree to disagree. And that doesn't mean that I don't understand you. I understand completely where you're coming from. I just do not agree with, hey, something's happening here. I just do not agree with what you said. So yeah, that definitely could come across kind of funky. Brenda and Dre, and then Ted and Sharon.
Hi, this is Dre. You know what? We have this. We seem to have this cookie cutter approach to it's, and we've heard it over the years. It's not what you say; it's how you say it. It's something that we talked about earlier. But I just want to kind of flip the script a little bit and just think about something. Sometimes it's like, what about sometimes things about it's not how I said it. Let's just think about what I said. Give me, just try to give me a little bit of discernment here and just listen to what I'm actually saying to you. I might not have said it right, but just check out what did I just say? Or what are we talking about here? That was my comment.
Well, that comes in, like we said, when someone is speaking, you want to ask 3 times and then repeat back what they're saying. So one, you're showing that you're listening because you're repeating back what they're saying. You like, again, you might not agree, and you might not say something back that other person wants to hear, but at least you're showing that you're listening by repeating back. So you're saying, so what you're saying, Dre, is blah 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 blah. Like, so I know, again, Erica has done it to me, and I might say, you said you went to wear a blue hat and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, that is not what I said. So that just proves to me that I know I wasn't listening. Sometimes I might not even understand, but I need to listen. So now I like, wait a minute, slow down. And then I'll ask a couple of times. I might get 2 of them wrong. And then that 3rd time, I'm like, so this is what you're saying. And you finally got it.
and prime example, Friday night, we had 2 events. I had a friend that was having something at the house, and it was my uncle's 75th birthday. So my uncle's party started at 7. I started getting ready at 5:15. He sleep on the couch. I said, come on, we got to get there. I thought that was Saturday. No, I told you it was Friday. You don't listen to me. Well, I could have swore you said Saturday because you said that I said, see, don't even worry about it. You weren't listening. We're not listening. Go ahead, Ted, Sharon.
Well, first of all, the thing about communication, it's very difficult, folks. I think that we kind of treat it as though it's something that's very, we can really get at it, but it's really a challenge. I know a lot of times Sharon talks to me and it just sort of just zoom, I've tuned her out. And then sometimes I say things to her, and what she repeats back to me is like, where did that come from? I know I didn't say that, and but if we take that and go with that, it can lead to a lot of misunderstanding. And a lot of times that's what we do. We take what we perceive, we heard, and we try to make that how this person think or behave, and it's nowhere near it. And so what Brenda said earlier about reassessing is very important. And you got to really work at trying to hear your partner. Also, you got to work at asking yourself, in addition to her asking or he asking, you got to ask yourself, what did you hear? You got to challenge yourself to hear better, because active listening is a skill that's hard to learn. Okay, that's it.
You're right about that active listening. And that's, again, that's what Darrin said. You have to say, okay, well, I heard you say, and it's hard to practice that because sometimes we just we just want to be selfish. I'm just sorry. And the book talks about being selfish. We just want to be selfish. Yeah, okay, yada, yada, yada. Okay, but listen to what I need you to hear me say, because it's about me right now. So yeah, active listening is definitely hard. So we're gonna, now that we, think about. Oh, yes, Ms. Davis.
I'm sorry, I just want to chime in a little bit. It seems like, and I'm just kind of learning this, communication is a practice, and it's like we have to continuously practice ways of communicating to each other. Sometimes I think, okay, if we do everything by the book, or we, after reading the 5 love languages, if we just do it like this, then we'll have it together. and then we can really, you know, like, how can I put it? Like, we have mastered it, but we haven't mastered it because it's just evolving all the time in different ways of communicating. And it's like, man, one week I thought we was good with this. Now, wait a minute, we got to change something now. We got to talk about this, or whatever the case may be. I'm hoping I'm making myself clear, but it is definitely a continuing practice. And it's definitely not something that seems that like you could just master it after a class or reading a book or any of that. It has to really be put into practice.
And you know what? I agree with you 100%. I don't think that anybody walking this earth can master anything because everything is constantly changing. It's only one master, and he was perfect. Nobody else. We can't master anything. Nothing. We can't even, we can think we've mastered a recipe, you know, but then something could change. And that recipe, you may find it, you know, that it tastes better if you do this. So I mean, mastery is definitely something I think nobody really reaches. Rick, Lisa?
I just wanted to add kind of to the point that the young lady just shared, that when we want to communicate with somebody and the message comes across in the wrong way, then what matters is not necessarily all the books that we read, but our heart. So if my heart is to understand, then I can choose to move past how it was said and work towards, okay, what are you saying? Like Dre was saying, like, what are you trying to say to me? Rick and I had a very difficult conversation, and the topic wasn't hard. What was hard was focusing on understanding. Okay, I got 1,000 things I can respond to that. Okay, but what are you trying to say? Where are we trying to get to? And we were talking for at least an hour, and you had to like literally kind of glue yourself to the seat to stay in the conversation to get to understanding, for me to get to understand what he was saying. It took several tries at different times, and likewise. So it's definitely a practice. It's definitely your heart of wanting to understand. And then as you move in that, then all those skills come back, because we had to use all those active listening skills, love language. We had to pull out all the stops.
Help.
Alice?
You got your hand up, Alice?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
One thing that we started to practice and we've been doing for a while now that has helped is you have to paint a picture with your communication. So when somebody says something that you necessarily don't understand or it's not making sense to you, when you hear it, ask them, okay, what does that look like to you? I hear the words that you're saying and I understand what you're asking, but what does that look like? Because clean the kitchen may be putting the dishes up and unloading the dishwasher for one person. And then to another person, it may be doing the dishes, sweeping the floor, wiping out the sink, wiping down the stove, and it may be more detailed. So sometimes it's what was said and then what was heard isn't interpreted the same way because we all understand and learn differently. So what's helpful for us is, okay, paint a picture. What does that look like to you? I heard this, and if I was to do it, I would do X, Y, and Z. What would you prefer that I do? Or what does that look like to you, so that you get a better understanding and it's a clear visual picture. So that way, you know exactly what's expected. So if you do miss the mark or drop the ball, you understand why, because you didn't fulfill what they actually wanted you to do at that time. So having that person say, paint a picture and go into detail instead of just taking the words at face value has made it a lot easier for us with communicating. It has cleared up some minor arguments that we used to have.
Yeah. So when we choose to be active listeners and then there's conflict, what do? How do we resolve that conflict? I know in the book, one thing is that they mentioned that is important was choose your battles. Everything does not deserve the big conversation and the conflict. Like, for example, we don't look around, y'all know the little floss sticks that you know, the little, I can walk around and I see them laying around everywhere. I'm like, why you just don't throw these things in the garbage? And you know, one time I mentioned it, he said, I'm still using it. Not if it's sitting on the arm of the couch. I'm still using it. So I just said, you know, after that, I said, okay, I know he's stubborn. And because I mentioned it, he's going to say I'm still using right now because we on straws now. Okay, he holding on to straws. So I don't even say anything. I just get him and throw him in the garbage. I just put him in the garbage. And he go, what happened to my straw? I know it wasn't nobody but you. Well, if you know, you don't have to ask. Yes, I threw it in the garbage. Get another one. So that's just little stuff, but you have to know that, like, I could have taken the whole dental pick thing and just blew it up and just made it into something that wasn't even worth the conversation, not even worth the air we're breathing. So you got to remember, choose, like Lisa been saying, choose your battles. You got to choose your battles. Everything is not worthy of a big blow up.
My biggest arguments was always over little bitty stuff that I can't remember what it even started about.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it says in the chapter too. When you having those battles, you have to ask each other, like, why are we even having this conversation? Why are we having this disagreement? Because again, this goes back to peeling layers. My dental picks might not even been an issue. It probably was. I like to leave one in every room that I visit. I mean, that's just me. Sorry. But
hey guys, and another thing I was thinking about, sometimes it's just even the way you relate to him. If he asks you, well, babe, what happened to my dental pick? You'd be like, oh, look, I threw that thing in the garbage. He wouldn't even think nothing twice about it. But when we bring sister girl into it, it makes it a whole nother program.
Amen. Thank you, Jesus.
Hey, how y'all doing? Good morning, everybody. You know what? I was listening to everybody, and you know, the most important thing that I realized is choosing your battles, because you know, choosing your battles really sets you on the right tone. You know, I mean, I'm gonna use an example. I'm a type of person that I like to be on time. And I think that's a real big issue between me and my wife. You know, when I try to tell her, say, listen, baby, we got to be at the airport 2 hours early, 3 hours early, just to be on time so we can be able to get a good seat, not rushing through the crowd and everything. And my wife liked to always wait to the last minute. And now here I am, I'm running through the airport like OJ. She running through the airport like OJ. And I'm like, are you listening? And this is something that goes on, like I can tell her the first week, and then we'll go on a trip the next month, and it's just over and over and over. And then sometimes I just say, you know what? She's not listening. So I just have to put myself on a timeout, and I have to go somewhere and just really, really just say a prayer. So I really just don't get upset, because I think that if I get upset, then it's gonna set the tone of what our day gonna be like. So I think that it's a challenge, and it's an ongoing challenge. And I think that I have to, me as a person, I'm learning to separate myself when I know that she's weak in that area. And I know this is not one of her strong points. So my question is to you, my question is to me is, how do I strengthen her in that area? Do I go off on her? She want to comment, I'm gonna let her comment. Do I just go off on her, or do I just step back and just pray? And I'm learning right now, I just go back and I just step back and pray. And if we late and we don't catch our flight, I look at it and I don't want to point the finger and say, I told you so. But this is, I mean, I'm listening. This is very challenging.
Good morning, y'all. Okay, let me tell y'all the real deal. Okay, first of all, you got 90 minutes to get to the plane, to 2 hours, okay? And you got 1 hour, which is 60 minutes. After that, you can't check your bag in. So I have to get in a chair because I can't walk through the airport. And so that's what takes the longest time. That's why he'd be wanting to get there early. But getting in the airport, sitting there for 3 hours don't make a bit of sense to me, because basically it makes sense, because if he had to push me after they don't come and get me for a while, that's fine. But 2 hours max, okay? But that's still too long for me. But I have to take in consideration that maybe I got to give up another extra 30 minutes or something. But being at the airport for 3 hours, sitting around looking at all these people in here, to me, don't make a bit of sense to me. What I'm sitting there for 3 hours when the plane don't take off. But let y'all know this too. We 2 hours ahead of y'all. So right now it is 8:13 where we at. So to come to the class is 7:30. Okay. But at the same time, if we come to Chicago, y'all 2 hours ahead of us. So we got to try to get there, you know, on that time. So the time zone is all off. But 2 hours max for me is good. And that's still too long, just so y'all know. And be quiet, Larry. Ain't nobody asked you nothing, Larry. I love you, Larry and Helen. Nobody asked you nothing, Larry.
Takesha.
Good morning, everyone. I think one of the biggest struggles that my husband and I had for the longest, and I think wives, I think we all can be on the same page. Spouses driving. Me and my husband would get into arguments about driving. He either has his way of driving, I have my way of driving. His reason of driving, the way he drives, I drive cautiously. Cautiously at 65 miles up to 70, I don't go there. I just leave it alone. But I think the remedy to that problem was we just had separate cars. Separate cars. I don't care if we get to church at different times, separate cars. But it used to be a struggle with that. He would say, why you take this road? I took this road because it's less traffic lights, okay? Well, it takes you out of your way. Again, if you wanted to go somewhere, you could have just got in your car and went to where you wanted to go. I don't have this problem. I get to where I go safely and on time. We both like to be on time, the stuff. It's just each other's driving. So our remedy for that was we have our own separate cars. And when we do get in the car together, if we go into a family function, I let him drive. I refuse to drive when he's in the car. And I just, here you go. If it's in my car, here you go. You drive. Why? Again, we're not having no debates. We having a good moment right now. Baby, I want you to drive. You go ahead and drive. I'm just gonna sit and watch. That's it, that's all. And to me, again, when you guys said choose your battles, it's not one of them battles I'm willing to fight over. I throw the white flag. Okay, you go ahead and do this. But if it gets to the point where it's like it's gonna be a battle, again, I might have to distance myself a little bit. And he knows when I get quiet, okay, something's up. But he know to give me my quiet time for a little bit. And then we'll come back together. We discuss what it is. And again, might be one of those to agree or disagree moments. But you know, we learn to choose our battles and really be careful with what we do and what we say towards each other.
Can I piggyback on what she said about driving? Because that's my pet peeve. When I'm driving, he holding on to the side of the little handle like I can't drive because I answer the telephone while I'm driving. Now, when he's driving, he can answer the telephone, he can do everything. But me, if I decide I'm right, texting, right, Erica, if I decide I'm gonna eat something, like a piece of candy, apple, anything, he like, you want me to drive? You want me to drive? I said, man, I drove a 75-foot bus. I think I can handle a little bitty car. And so when I'm doing stuff, I'm looking at the road, able to dig in my purse. You want me to drive? You want to pull over? I can stick my hand in my purse and keep my eyes on the road. So that's my pet peeve with him about my problem, because he think he drives so well and I think I drive well. But at the same time, I can multitask. That's what women do. We have to multitask. we can have a baby and be reading a book now. So to me, if we can do all them other multitask things, we can be able to drive and stick our hand in our purse or get some, eat an apple and still focus on the road. But in his mind, oh, you need to pull over because you about to make us have an accident and you holding on to the side of the darn car like I'm about to tear us up. If I hit, so since he do all that, if I hit somebody, I'll make sure I hit on his side, y'all. Just kidding.
Wait.
So speaking on that, it's 5 ways to resolve the conflict. The first one is it's avoiding selfishness. And so what they mean by that is, to put your needs on the back burner and not try and gratify yourself, but think about your partner. That's one of the first things to resolve conflict.
Now, that right there, I think we kind of struggle with that, depending on situation, depending on what it is. And like, for example, if I'm upstairs and I'm doing all my teacher work and all this and that, and he down here watching the game and all this, and Lisa and Rick, y'all gonna be talking about this next week. And he come upstairs, he want to play. I'm like, I gotta get up in the morning. No, you should have came up. You didn't watch about 5-6 football games. You should have came denying, but at the same time, look, you could have came up here and then went back downstairs. It's now 10:30. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. I'm always getting in bed by midnight. Like, no, I can't. So yeah, I put on my selfish hat for that. And then he pouts like our son, all this and that. So yeah, I'm working on not being selfish.
So again, avoid selfishness. The second one is you all want to have a healthy discussion. You never allow problems to build up or let them fester. Some people like to internalize their feelings and then have, again, huge explosions and stuff like that. And if you already read the chapter, saying when you're picking your battles and your argument, you also got to choose the platform and the place when you're going to have these conversations, because you don't want to have an argument
at your in-laws' house.
Yeah, your in-laws or whatever, to benefit you.
Ain't got no support.
Right, to benefit, to benefit you where you think that you have the upper hand. You want to have these healthy discussions on a level playing field. So choose and pick the right time to have these discussions with your spouse if you all are in a disagreement. So the third thing is fight fair. You must make your spouse feel safe to discuss whatever it is that's on their mind. So now what they mean by fight fair, you got some people, if the wife comes to the husband just blows off, blah, blah, blah. Now you're making your spouse feel like, okay, I can't come here and talk to you about something small or big because you're just gonna blow off the handle and off the top. So we have to fight fair, find a neutral ground for everyone to feel safe, you and your partner, to have these healthy discussions. And you don't feel like somebody has to win when you're having these conversations. All you're just having healthy dialogue, because again, you're two different people for two different walks of life. You're not going to have 100% agreement all the time. So it's always a healthy agree to disagree. And then the fourth one, again, as they state in here, choose to forgive. That's a big part. You might not forget, but you have to choose to forgive. It has in there, when we speak, forgive us our sins and those who sin against us. I can't ask the Lord to forgive me if I'm not going to forgive you. So choose to forgive. You don't have to forget, but choose to forgive and move on.
But that's hard. It's hard because, it's hard. And what I know about the book, number 4 is choose to forgive. And number 5 is choose to forgive. And so you got to wonder, like, why they keep saying choose to forgive. Because it's hard, and not just to forgive, but then when you forgive without punishment, that's the worst. Because sometimes, yeah, I forgive you, but I want to make you feel it. I want you to know that you really hurt me, and so you're gonna suffer the next few days, even though I didn't forgave allegedly, but you're gonna suffer. I might not want you touching me. I might not want to talk too tough, but that's something that, it's hard. It's hard. Ellis.
Okay, so for me, it's not necessarily the forgiving without punishment, but sometimes the issue or the situation really hurt my feelings. And in order for me to process, in order to forgive and get over it, sometimes I want to have a conversation about it or bring it back up. And that's where the argument sometimes starts for us, because I'll mention what was said or what aspect of the situation hurt my feelings. And he like the deer in headlights. Well, I didn't say that. Or that's not what I meant by it. Okay, that's not what you meant, but you said it and you left it on the table without any clarification or explanation. So now I'm frustrated. My feelings are hurt, and there's no resolution from it, because now I'm considered to be petty or in my feelings because I don't want to talk, or I'm distancing myself. But then at the same token, I can't get over the hurt feelings because you're not willing to discuss it or meet me halfway, or you don't even remember what was said because you were angry at the time. So how do you deal with the situation and rectify it, and then get to the forgiving stage and to be able to move past it when you can't rectify or clear up the situation?
Can I say this? I know I'm on mute. I'm on not being seen. When you choose to forgive, you choose to forgive at all levels. When you say, I got to talk first and then I'll forgive, then you making your forgiveness conditional. And there's nothing he or she will say to each other to justify your hurt, or what they can say they're sorry, and I'm not trying to say that, but you want to sometimes have a discussion so you can understand really deeply how I feel, and I get that. But forgiveness is not conditional. Forgiveness is just forgiveness if we discuss it and or not. And I just learned over the years is that I just let God, I just pray about it, and God will show Thomas, or vice versa me, what we have done. And then, my husband never apologizes. So, I've been waiting for that for 40 something years now. But I just know when he is sorry about something, and I just need to move on, because choosing to forgive, one thing you have to say, is healthy for me. It makes me the better communicator. When we talk about communication, choosing to forgive makes me the better communicator.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Forgiving is, because like Darrin said, we want the Lord to forgive us for everything we've done in the past, in the present, and the future, and our current thought. How dare we sit and say, well, he's God, he's supposed to do it, but me forgive, I can't do that. So if the Lord can forgive us and do it unconditionally, we need to do the same. We need to do the same. Dre and Brenda.
I just wanted to kind of concur. I struggle with the whole forgiveness thing to the extent that I understand, what forgiveness is and letting it go, but it just seems like it's a real one-sided thing. Like, I'm doing all the forgiving. I want you to at least validate my feelings, acknowledge that you hurt me, tell me you sorry. If you can't do that, then I'm struggling with my whole side of the equation, which is that I just need to forgive you on face value. And it doesn't matter if you acknowledge it, if you validate my feelings, if you say you're sorry, just forgive. And I guess I continue to struggle with that. I've always struggled with that the whole forgiveness thing seems to be so one-sided that it does not it's almost like the other person is getting away with it scot-free. You get my forgiveness, but you don't have to do anything to acknowledge your part in it. So I was just concurring that, yeah, it's a struggle.
And that's why we gotta let God handle everything, because it may seem to us that the person is getting away scot-free and they're just, have moved on. But God deals with them in a way that he's going to deal with them. And he always opens their eyes to what they did or whatever and why it was hurtful. So that comes with us needing to definitely put our complete trust in God to take care of everything.
I'm sorry, that what the other lady was saying is just so true. Sometimes it is hard to forgive when the person is not even acknowledging what they have done, or they'll pretend like they're innocent, or they didn't do this, or you're just assuming things, or it's all in your head, it's all in your mind. I didn't mean that, or I didn't do this. And they're not taking any responsibility at all. And it's like, oh my God, I still I still have to forgive that. But I'm gonna tell you, it takes some prayer. It really takes some prayer. And eventually I do move forward, but I have to pray my way through it.
Can I say something right quick before we get out of class? When you say about forgive, that's one thing to say, forgive me. But I think as human beings, we choose our words when we want to say things to hurt people. We choose our words when we want to say something to edify somebody. But at the same time, you have to think about when you say forgive me for what I've done, but don't forget those words could stab you, cut you, and women are emotional creatures. So we're going to be remembering that horrible thing you said to us. That doesn't mean we don't forgive you. It just means that we are hurt by it, and we might not have that it might be built up on some more hurt or some more harmful things or some more words that you said, and vice versa. People say things to each other and then say forgive me, but they don't think about the fact that you still cut by what they said or hurt by what they said. That don't go away easily as saying forgive me. I can say forgive me, but what about you just said something very horrible to me, and how do I supposed to get past that without some healing from God and some maturity? Because if you don't have the maturity in Christ and as a human being, it can go a whole nother way.
So if we say we forgive, but we haven't forgotten, did we really forgive Ted and Lisa? I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't get Ted, I didn't gave you Rick wife. Ted and Sharon.
All right. Okay. I just want to say that basically, if you're looking for a balance and forgiveness, you're never going to get that. Okay. You always gonna, it's called sacrifice, folks. You have to understand that to forgive means just that. I got a little thing here that says the first to apologize is the bravest. The first to forgive is the strongest. The first to forget will be the happiest. Okay. So what we have to do is, first of all, we got to realize that, words and actions do hurt people. And if they say it hurt them, then it did. Okay. But we can't qualify how they feel. We have to sort of accept that. But lots of times we're selfish, and it's easier not to understand. So what we do, we opt out for the easy way out. So I'm just going to tell you, it's sacrifice. You got to be able to understand that marriage is work. And you got to always look at it that it's no 50-50 in marriage. It's 100 and 100. Okay, that's it.
Good. Yeah, very good point. Linda, you and Jerry.
I just want to say this about struggling with forgiveness. I know we all do it, but we have to remember the last words Jesus said before he died on the cross. And that was what?
Forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Exactly. So when we're struggling with forgiveness, we have to understand that Jesus made the ultimate sacrifice, and he didn't say, I feel like I need to I'm not ready to forgive. His last words was forgive them, for they know not what they do. And sometimes we have to draw from that. Is it easy? No, but it's the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we end class, because we're coming very, very close, we just want to just finalize some things that was mentioned in the book. And one of them was creating that safe space. And, just having that feeling like it's no place like home. Have that safe space for you and your partner to just be able to be free and actually like communicate and just be open. Because if you don't feel safe, let's face it, if you didn't feel safe, going into your work building, you wouldn't go. If you didn't feel safe getting in your car, driving to wherever, to the store, and you wouldn't want to go. So you want to make sure that your partner feels safe and that you feel safe to share what's on your mind and just be open with one another. You're in this thing for life. This is not just, okay, we got 5 years and then after that we moving on. This is a lifelong relationship until death do we part. So we have to we got to get that safe space. Really?
It's a long time.
Okay. We have to have that safe space. Before we go, because we got a couple of minutes, I want to, Jerry and Linda, y'all hands up? Was that an old hand? Oh yeah, okay.
Old hand.
Okay. Before we go, because I want to respect everybody's time and make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to hear the word. I'm going, because I'm gonna acknowledge Stephen and Shauna, y'all been real quiet today, so y'all hand is up, so go ahead.
Hey, we were just enjoying all the comments, enjoying the class today. Just on the topic of communication, I just wanted to bring up that timing is very key. Timing is very key. Darrin talked about earlier, you watching the game and Erica come in and say, we need to talk. Me and Sean were over here laughing because I was like, that's not the best time to talk.
But we got to get some off our chest. We're going to get it off right then and now. I got you, Erica. I'm with you.
But at the same token, on the flip side of that, we come home from work, we've been out there battling the world and all the stuff that's on our shoulders, and we want to come home and talk about something. But if the wife is cooking and got laundry going and the kids are running around and everything is haywire, that's not the best time to talk about that. You may want to wait until you guys sit down, have a bite to eat, relax a little bit, and then have that kind of conversation where you can really have effective communication. So just the thing that I wanted to point out is always pay attention to timing as well. Even though you want to say something and you may want to hit it head on, we talked about the people that like to process and take time and take a step back and just think about it for a little while. Pay attention to timing as well, because that may not be the proper time for that conversation and I think it was Rick and Lisa that pointed out, if it's our goal to be able to hear each other and to resolve this, let's pay attention to timing as well. So that's all we wanted to add, but great class, guys.
And I want to let Erica and Darrin know you guys did an awesome job. Good job, Erica and Darrin.
Thank you so much. Okay, I got two. So Pam and Ellis, we got no minutes. Go, Pam.
I just wanted Ted, good morning, everybody. Great class, Erica and Darrin. I just wanted Ted to repeat what he said about, it was 3 things. The first to apologize is the bravest. That's all.
The first to apologize is the bravest. The first to forgive is the strongest. The first to forget is the happiest.
Thank you. Those are really
Ted.
Yeah, that's real talk.
Yeah, Ted, put that in the chat so we can make sure that Takesha sends that out to us next week for us to remember.
Yes,
that is a great piece to end all conversations with.
Yeah,
absolutely. When you're having it with your spouse, that's a great little piece. Those 3 things right there.
Please put that in the chat so we can write that down.
Hey, Erica, can I say something? This is Carrie. I'm visiting my daughter. I'm visiting my daughter down in Augusta, Georgia, and she said you have just added another couple to your class, so she's really enjoying it. It's been a blessing. You guys did a great job. I really enjoyed it.
Tell her I said thank you. I know she's joining because of me, and I'll accept that.
Yes, especially.
Yeah. She's welcome. She's welcome. She's welcome.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness. Before we go and get ready for the word, I want to not introduce, because y'all know this couple, rock star couple. Rick and Lisa will be our teachers for next week on intimacy. So can Rick and Lisa, can y'all give us just a teensy bite, a little baby bite of what we can expect next week?
No. But we do want each of you to bring a treat that your spouse likes, their favorite treat.
Okay, don't guess what the treat is.
Yes, find out what
Ask
it is.
So you bring
Make
the
sure
right
you
one.
bring it because you're gonna need it. Bring a treat, bring their favorite treat.
And we're just gonna, talk about some things that we normally don't talk about in Sunday school or in church.
Hey,
but
you're not supposed to get no.
Okay, I'm be quiet. That's all I'll say too much.
All right.
So we can't bring a trick, just a treat.
You could trick each other later on. So trick yourself all you want. But yeah, we hope, we pray that the class next week will, that you guys will love it and you be blessed by it.
All right. Thank you.
I'm sure we will.
All right, I'm gonna try and pray us all out of here. So please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, first and foremost, thank you for this day. Thank you for your grace and mercy. Thank you for all the couples that have participated in this class today. We've taken your word, we've listened to it. We hope that when we leave this class today, that we apply it, witness it to other married couples to strengthen them and possibly get more classmates in this class. We just want to thank you for the gift of life and purpose and everything that you bestow upon us each day that we wake up and we live in your life, Father. I want to thank you for the word which we're about to receive after this class. May it nourish our bodies, our souls, and our spirits. And we just want to thank you, Father, and lift your name up in praise. And it's in your son's name we give praise. Amen.
Amen.